I'm Army Sergeant William White. Welcome to this special edition of the Desert Vision, where we'll take a look back at U.S. Army Central's key events and highlights of 2014 as we look forward to missions that lie ahead in the new year. To begin this newscast, we look at the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve and the mission in Iraq to defeat and degrade ISIL. ISIL forces have caused terrible human suffering, leaving people without homes, food, and water. Air Force Staff Sergeant Aaron Mills explains how one U.S. Air Force mission in August provided aid to people affected by these actions.
I'm Staff Sergeant Aaron Mills on a flight line in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. As you can see behind me, troops are loading pallets of containment delivery systems filled with food and water on a C-17 in preparation for tonight's humanitarian airdrop over Iraq.
It really excites the crews to be a part of something larger like this, something multinational, something that provides air crews, aerial porters, Army rigging teams. It's really a group effort that comes together to put this together in a very short amount of time. And so tonight's mission is just another representation of a mission of hope that we can give those citizens, that they have not been forgotten by the world, that our multinational partners as well as the United States will always be here to support, and we're here to support the strategy of the President of the United States and the Department of Defense. We're here, we're looking for a solution, and we want to provide this relief supply to you.
For an airdrop to work, the plane will fly over the designated drop zone. It'll nose up, and one of the load masters inside of the aircraft will press a button to cut the release case. And since the airplane is already nosed up, the bundles will fall out of the back. These static lines here will actually open the chute for it. So when these fall out of the back, gravity takes over and it opens the chute, which carries the bundle to the ground.
There was a buzz of excitement as the mission came together, providing simple life essentials to people in need.
I feel absolutely honored to be part of the humanitarian airdrop. It is such an important mission to execute and to execute flawlessly.
Not every day everybody gets a chance to put their hand in something like this. So just having this opportunity is a great moment in my life. I will be telling my children and anybody else I can about this.
Being a part of this humanitarian aid airdrop, you know, it really makes the job a lot easier to do. Actually being able to help people is what I joined the military to do, and this facilitates that want, that desire.
The mission was successfully completed using 2 C-17 Globemaster IIIs and 2 C-130 Hercules, offloading 10,545 gallons of water and 7,056 certified halal MREs. Reporting from the CENTCOM area of responsibility, I'm Staff Sergeant Aaron Mills.
In December, Air Force Staff Sergeant Jeremy Bocock gave us some insight on how U.S. forces are helping the Iraqi Air Force get back on the runway.
Many of the areas that need to be resupplied by the Iraqi Air Force and the Iraqi forces in general have been cut off from major lines of communication, for instance the Sinjar Mountains and major airports. So that's what led us to the need to develop some type of Iraqi airdrop capability.
We spent about a week on the ground helping the Iraqis and countless hours back at our home unit attempting to develop the program to assist the Iraqis.
A number of factors go into planning an airdrop, everything from the pre-mission planning to selecting the drop zone, the altitudes for the drop, any type of safety considerations for the aircrew and the objects in flight to the people on the ground, as well as building up the loads themselves, to loading the aircraft, making sure that the load masters and pilots are ready for the mission, and then the actual execution portion themselves. What we hope to accomplish with the Iraqi forces during our time in Iraq is to be able to take the capability they had already received through their training in the United States and make sure that they were ready to, one, be able to execute their mission safely and effectively, and two, to kind of knock the dust off the skills they already had.
Working side by side with the Iraqi Air Force has been very rewarding. It's been neat to see them develop personally. In just our short amount of time that we've spent with them, I've seen them grow as loadmasters, aircrew in general. We've seen them take many strides to succeed at this mission, and it's been very rewarding in that aspect.
U.S. support enables the Iraqi mission in a number of ways. One, just by being there, we provide mentorship for their forces and provide confidence for their leadership that the mission can go as planned. We've got a lot of airdrop experience, we've got mission planning experience, and we tell them you've got the right equipment, your crews have the right training, and that gives them faith in their crews to go ahead and task them to do the mission. Once the mission does go, the morale on the ground from either besieged forces or besieged non-military personnel, you have to imagine would spike. I mean, we're dealing with people that haven't had any outside contact for a couple months other than via telephone or the internet. So one of my colleagues on this trip put it best. The real impact of what the Iraqis did last week was that a child who hadn't been eating maybe on a regular basis had food in their mouths for the first time in a while.
Personally, I was gratified that the Iraqi Air Force was able to conduct the first humanitarian airdrop missions over Emerly, actually a day prior to the United States Air Force and coalition forces coming in to help with humanitarian airdrops. So I think as far as a level of satisfaction for the Iraqi Air Force, they were very proud of that accomplishment, and they should be.
Now we look at the transition in Afghanistan, as NATO has officially ended its 13-year combat mission. In April, the Afghanistan National Army demonstrated their military capabilities in a combined exercise in Kabul, Afghanistan. Air Force Staff Sergeant Michael Cowley shows us how this first-of-its-kind exercise was a milestone for the ANA.
Today marks an historic event for the Afghan National Army as they demonstrate their combined military capabilities. This exercise is the first to demonstrate the results of 4.5 years that NATO Training Mission Afghanistan and ANA have been training together.
We've been heavily engaged with them at the Armour Branch School with the Mobile Strike Force introduction of it as an equipment where we've provided training advisory teams and direct assistance with those capabilities, and the same with the infantry as well. Commander Surge has been working closely, and we saw some of the equipment provided by NATO and some of the training as well in the displays that we saw today, and particularly the counter-IED stuff, which has been a CJ3 NTMA-led initiative, and we saw a full display of that both in the static stands and the mobile display as well.
This exercise has played a key role for the future of Afghan National Army, as we have shown to our enemies that our Afghan National Army is capable to defend independently from our country, our nation, under any circumstances.
The event, which was coordinated within a week, included mobile strike force capabilities, special forces, air assault, counter-IED, along with medical and resupply logistics.
I think we just need to try and widen the sphere of knowledge across the corps so they're comfortable with this level of integration that we're seeing here today. But no, I think this is enormously positive. I think any army from the international community to lay on a demonstration like this, both in terms of the static and the range of the equipment, but also integrating that into a scenario like we saw, is, this is a real demonstration of their professionalization.
While this demonstration proves a victory for the ANA, the ability for this level of training to reach the full capacity of the military still lies ahead. From NATO Training Mission in Kabul, Afghanistan, I'm Air Force Staff Sergeant Michael Cowley.
A ceremony was held in December to mark the end of Operation Enduring Freedom and the beginning of Resolute Support. General John Campbell spoke about how our partnership with Afghanistan forces has grown since the beginning of the conflict in 2001.
We have many Afghans here that were with us from the very beginning. Afghanistan possessed no standing professional security forces. Over the course of a decade, our Afghan partners and we have built a highly capable Afghan army and police force of over 350,000 personnel.
Soldiers come from all walks of life. Their different backgrounds and thought processes are what make our Army the most adaptive force on the planet. Here's a look back at the months we take to recognize the diverse soldiers that enhance our force. The Transportation Corps gets troops and equipment where it needs to be to complete missions across the U.S. Army Central operating area. Army Sergeant Jesse Anderla followed Major General Susan Davidson in September to find out how this mission shapes the Army.
The Surface Deployment Distribution Command is the go-to organization for shipping military equipment, large and small, around the globe.
From meals to trucks, we move and coordinate for the movement between all ports or any kind of mode, from airports to seaports, seaports to rail and truck. All of them are under our guise of requirements.
This also means as the drawdown in Afghanistan continues, the SDDC will be there to transport anything coming home, including troops. Major General Davidson's involvement in the Operation Iraqi Freedom Withdrawal in 2010 has given her first-hand knowledge on what needs to be done to transport everything back home.
If you only have one road and that road goes down, you can't get out. So by incorporating the air routes and finding additional seaports, there were ways we could use all assets available, not all eggs in one basket, if you will.
And although coordinating all this movement with other countries can sometimes prove difficult, the SDDC simplifies this process by keeping their operations in-house.
The very fascinating thing about SDDC is we pitch and catch to ourselves. Oftentimes, you give your equipment to somebody else and you hope that it shows up from somebody else when you get over here. I actually take it, I then put it on the ship, I then receive it on the ship here, and then I'm the person that hands it back to you. So you actually give it to SDDC and get it from SDDC.
So the next time you eat a meal, sleep in a bed, or redeploy from overseas, think of the SDDC and the hard work and coordination it took to make all that happen. For U.S. Army Central, I'm Army Sergeant Jesse Anderla.
1st Infantry Division soldiers conducted rehearsals in July as part of an emergency deployment readiness exercise. Army Staff Sergeant Noel Gehrig explains how the exercise set the theater by preparing the Devil Brigade soldiers for their mission.
Soldiers from 2nd Battalion, 34th Armor Regiment, 1st Armor Brigade Combat Team participated in an Emergency Deployment Readiness Exercise, or EDRI, at Camp Buehring, Kuwait. The exercise was scheduled to validate the Dreadnought Battalion's mobilization load plans, manifest systems, and vehicle movement operations. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Allen, commander of 234 Armor, explains.
This morning we're doing an emergency deployment readiness exercise, and so what we're doing is making sure that the battalion is prepared to deploy essentially at a moment's notice for contingency operations within the CENTCOM AOR. So we're putting the battalion through its paces, making sure that everything is capable of being loaded correctly, that the soldiers understand the ROE, their weapons and equipment can be drawn quickly, and then we'll actually move down to Ali Salim and then work with the Air Force so that we can properly configure equipment so that it can go on the aircraft within the standards the Air Force is established, and just essentially making sure that the battalion is ready to go when and if we receive the call from the brigade commander or the CENTCOM commander.
Just rehearsals. That kind of stuff is important to practice getting ready and getting through the entire process pretty quick and efficiently.
Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence Baker, Deputy Commander for the 1st Armor Brigade Combat Team, tells us what is necessary for successful EDRI.
The Devil Brigade EDRI program is designed to maximize efficiency and facilitate the flexibility for rapid infusion of force package capabilities throughout the CENTCOM AOR. The process is a joint service effort that relies on the full cooperation of professionals from multiple military branches.
Conducting joint exercises like these are vital to the success of the mission. It allows the dreadnoughts to ensure proficiency and timeliness in their execution when the time comes for them to deploy at a moment's notice. Reporting for the 1st Armor Brigade Combat Team at Camp Buehring, Kuwait, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Noel Gehrig.
U.S. Army Central has actively made the most out of its energy resources as part of the Army's Operational Energy Campaign. Army Sergeant Woodbridge Dean Bullock reveals how one September project used state-of-the-art shelters to set the theater for a new standard.
Measurements are made, a screw gets drilled in, and a wall is placed. What seems like a standard construction site is actually home to a new take on deployed housing units.
This building is part of the Kuwait Energy Efficiency Project, or KEEP. The purpose of KEEP is to increase energy security and soldier quality of life.
Each of the 12 two-story structures has 16 rooms providing 80 square feet of living space per room. And the integrated environmental control technology presents a convenient energy-saving solution for its occupants.
While they're in there, it provides them a standard living temperature. When they're gone, it raises temperature, keeps it at a normal level, but As they come back in, it goes back to a more comfortable level for their space.
Requiring no concrete foundation, the Keep shelter is tactically efficient as well.
It's a temporary building, and it takes very limited time to put one up.
And speed will be necessary to complete these modern marvels, with the project end date just a little over a year away. Reporting for U.S. Army Central, I'm Army Sergeant Woodbridge Dean Bullock.
Step Eagle 2014 was held in October at the Joint Multinational Readiness Center in Hohenfels, Germany. The exercise validated Kazakhstani Peacekeeping Battalion's deployment capabilities for future United Nations peacekeeping missions. This is the first time the exercise was held outside of Kazakhstan in its 12 years.
Step Eagle 2014 has reached the halfway point. This multilateral exercise began with the Kazakhstan Peacekeeping Battalion learning how to protect themselves with a riot shield and baton. They also learned crowd control techniques to prevent being overrun by an unruly crowd. As they moved on, it became a little heated as instructors threw Molotov cocktails at the Kazakhstanis during the fire phobia portion of the exercise. This taught them how to properly avoid going up in flames and how to wave off a potential dangerous situation.
Learning all this stuff, all the steps, which one, how to do, how to hold the shield, how to run, how to move, how to turn right, how to turn anything.
Over the next 2 days, they used land navigation skills by first taking a scenic trek through the woods to set up an observation point. The sole purpose was to keep an eye on enemy activity without being seen. Then they set up a vehicle control point searching for drugs and weapons being smuggled across a simulated border.
You are getting the new stuff from others, because what you don't know, maybe some other guys don't know. So that's why from him, you are getting a good experience and a lot of things, which one you have never seen or which one you never heard, as kind of things. That's why I feel good to be in Step Eagle, but I'm happy what I've come here.
Gunfire echoed through a small town in the JMRC training area on the morning of Day 5 as opposing forces attacked the Kazbat. Their task was to secure the town and gather information about the hostiles and their activities from its inhabitants. They proceeded to search buildings according to the intelligence they acquired. After gathering enough intel, they apprehended their aggressors and turned them in to the local authorities.
The most valuable thing for the Kazakhstan military are probably cooperation with a multinational contingent during the peacekeeping operation.
The final day was a violent representation of what can happen when a crowd gets out of control. Role players attacked relentlessly, forcing the Kazakhstanis to put the skills they acquired from the first 2 days to work in order to disperse the group of aggravated rioters.
The first time I've seen the crowd riot control lane, and the level of intensity is probably the word I would use.
As Step Eagle continues into the second week, the Kazakhstan Peacekeeping Battalion will conduct a field training exercise. This is designed to test all of the knowledge they have acquired over the past week.
Step Eagle is a multilateral exercise which started in Kazakhstan as a peacekeeping, peace support operation, and based on the last 12 years, there was a desire to grow the importance of the exercise based on the national goals of the country of Kazakhstan to be able to deploy a UN peacekeeping battalion to somewhere around the world and support a UN mission.
This initial training was just a taste of what is to come. From Hohenfels, Germany, I'm Army Sergeant Jesse Anderlo.
Wounded warriors are men and women who have made great sacrifices. Their resiliency through loss demonstrates the strength of our nation. Army Staff Sergeant Christy Dispinet gives us insight on a special trip in March that showed wounded veterans how their bravery continues to impact their brothers and sisters in arms.
5 soldiers wounded in battle receive a warm welcome from soldiers in Kabul, Afghanistan. These soldiers are part of Operation Proper Exit. This program gives them the chance to see the major changes in Afghanistan's medical care, education, and women's rights. It also shows them that their sacrifices, pain, and struggles from their injuries made a huge difference in the war against terrorism.
Days like today remind me of why we sacrifice, and hopefully remind us to thank the people in this world that make it possible for us to do what we do.
In 2010, Sergeant McIntosh lost his right leg below his knee after stepping on a landmine, but he didn't let that slow him down one bit.
I run track and field for the United States Army. I'm in the World Class Athlete program. I finished 5th in the nation last year, 19th in the world.
These soldiers showed that life can go on after a life-threatening experience. Reporting from Kabul, Afghanistan, I'm Staff Sergeant Christy Dispinette.
The Army takes a proactive approach in making sure its soldiers are ready and resilient. In January, Army Sergeant Heath Graham showed us how morale-building events keep soldiers smiling.
3rd Medical Command hosted the 3rd Annual Resiliency Expo at Camp Afghan, Kuwait. As part of the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness Program, the social, emotional, spiritual, physical, and family strength pillars that make up the program were on display with over 40 booths filled with information and activities.
You always have a success when people walk away with learning something new, with finding a new friend, and finding supports where they've had to relocate away from their family and friends. That's what this is all about. See you there. We actually had the vets come in with some animals, and a soldier said to me, "Ma'am, I haven't seen my dog in 9 months. I got to pet Pepper here today, and I feel like I'm home." That made it all worth it.
The expo not only provided support for deployed soldiers away from their families, but also provided fellowship and gave them opportunity to network with other units.
No, the front door, man. As you open it, the fridge is right there on the left.
There's different things that's going on in Arab John, because it can be stressful being away from your family, but because you have different things that you have here in Arab John, they're able to see resiliency, basically, things they can do to keep their mind off things going on at home, perhaps.
The expo came to a close with a resiliency Zumba session to emphasize the importance of fitness through resilience. Reporting for U.S. Army Central, I'm Army Sergeant Heath Graham.
As we look ahead to 2015, the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve will continue to advise and assist the government of Iraq in defeating ISIL. In Afghanistan, Operation Resolute Support will provide a contingent to give guidance to an adaptive and proven Afghanistan National Army. And U.S. Army Central will continue to build upon partner nation relationships throughout Southwest Asia and the Middle East to improve regional security and stability. For these stories and more, visit us on facebook.com/US Army Central. Thanks for watching.